Hi, this is Polly from thefitmumformula.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about comfort eating and how you can break the cycle. Now, this is something that most women can relate to, and actually there's many reasons that we do comfort eat, and if you know why, you can do something about it. So comfort eating actually goes back a lot further than you'd think. When you were a baby, you would cry and you would be given warm milk either from a breast or a bottle, and as every mum knows, babies don't actually just ask for milk when they're hungry. They will ask for it for comfort as well, and it's this built-in instinct that served us well when there wasn't so much food around and there would be famines, and it meant that we could store up for times when there wasn't food around. But of course that's no longer a problem these days. We still do have these built-in instincts, and there's a reason why cappuccinos and lattes are the best-selling drinks in coffee shops, because think about it, what are they made of? Warm milk. So obviously that doesn't apply in everyday life today. What you're talking about most of the time is when you've had a bad day, when you're feeling really stressed, and you know that a piece of chocolate cake, a few rounds of white toast and butter, things like that, really stodgy, sometimes carbohydrate or sugar or fat-rich foods, these heavier foods, will make you feel better. And the reason they make you feel better is for several reasons. Number one is they fill your belly with something that's quite heavy and stodgy, so it will line your stomach, and that feels quite comforting in itself. You know that feeling when you want to go to sleep after a big meal? It's that kind of comforting feel. So that's one reason. Another reason is foods that are high in sugar and fat combined, and sometimes salt and textures like crunchy as well. When you've got a whole mixture of all these things, it's irresistible, and it triggers the pleasure receptors in the brain. It makes you feel good, it makes you feel happy. So that's another reason we turn to these foods when we need comfort. So what can you do about it? Well, we've got a short-term strategy and we've got a long-term strategy. The short-term strategy is you need to have something else in place. You need to have a plan. Write it down is the best way to make sure you follow that plan and make sure you've got what you need to hand. So I would recommend a warm drink, because it's kind of heading along that line of that warm milk comfort that you got when you were a baby. You can't really beat a cup of builder's tea. Decaf, it's later in the day, but any kind of warm drink will comfort you a little bit. Another thing you can try is cocoa. Now, my favourite craving buster drink is cocoa, like cocoa powder topped up with hot water, and if you want to, sweeten it with a little stevia. And cocoa has amazing compounds in it that actually increase the amount of happy hormones in your brain, and that's why women crave chocolate, especially around our period, because our levels of these happy hormones are lower. We feel grumpy, irritable. I know you know what I'm talking about. And chocolate makes you feel better, and it does, it really does. But it's the cocoa in the chocolate that does that, not all the added fat and sugar and everything else they put into it. So if you can use just the cocoa, you'll get that same effect without all the extra calories and sugar. So there are two strategies you can try straight away. You can also, if it's genuine hunger, just eat, have something in your belly. It could just be an apple and a cup of tea could be just enough to fill your belly and give you a little bit of comfort, just to tie you over to your next proper meal. And it might not be the first two things that you think of that come to mind, but just try them first. And if you're genuinely still hungry, maybe it is time for the next meal, but just try those first, and it might just act as a buffer that stops you going for whatever unhealthy foods you're going to dive into alternatively. Other things you can try are, if you can, have a warm bath, go for a walk, get some sunshine, just take 5 minutes time out to just sit down, have a rest, stare out the window and think about how you're feeling. And some of these things are just enough to ground us, relax, do some deep breathing and take away that stress and that strain that's making you want to comfort eat in the first place. Now, long term, you have to look at why you're wanting to comfort eat, and you have to, whatever it is that's triggering, you have to take away those triggers. So what I want you to do, if you comfort eat, I want you, every time you either do or you get the urge to, I want you to write down what's going on in your life, what's been going on in the previous 24 hours, maybe the past week, that's led you to feel like that. And what are you feeling? How are you reacting? How are your stress levels? Write it all down, and I bet you will notice that it's something going on. There will have been something that happened, whether it's minor, whether it's serious. Something will have happened, and you're feeling a certain way, and your gut instinct is to go, right, I want food. That is your instinct, but we know that isn't the answer. So you need to take a step back, count to 10, have a pause, and reflect and go, right, why am I feeling like this? It's not about the food. If it's not genuine hunger, then what is it that's making me do this? You know, what am I feeling? What's triggered this? And then you can work backwards and put preventative steps in place. If there's something that you can, if it's something you can do something about, do something about it. Put something in place to prevent it happening again. If it's out of your control, figure out what makes you feel good and takes that stress away, lowers your stress levels and calms you down and makes you feel more relaxed, that doesn't involve stodgy foods. It could be, again, just having 5 minutes peace to yourself with a cup of tea. You could go for a walk, sit outside in the sunshine. Maybe it's exercise based. Maybe you're one of those people who really likes to power out their stress doing just 10 air squats, 10 body weight squats, or a couple of burpees might be all you need to just get that, you know, get that stress out, get all that adrenaline out. So there we have it. We've got a short-term plan, is to have something in place immediately. Have something you can turn to, go, right, I need comfort now. What am I going to have that's going to give me comfort but doesn't involve large quantities of calorific food? Long-term, you need to look at what's causing this. You need to write it down, really reflect, pause, count to 10 and think, why am I feeling this? Why is my head saying I need food now when you know you logically don't need food right now? What is it that's triggered that feeling? And then work backwards to either preventing it happen again or figure out the best ways to deal with those feelings that don't involve the food. I hope that's helpful, and I would love to know how you deal with comfort eating. What strategies you find that work for you to stop you reaching for that food when you don't really need to eat in that moment. Or if you're struggling, comment below and let me know, and maybe we can figure out some little some answers for you, some things you can try and experiment with and see if they help. I hope that was useful. Please do like, comment and subscribe on YouTube. This is Polly from thefitmumformula.com.